The Daytona 500 on Fox is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Bundle auto and home and save. And by Toyota. Let's go places. 88 laps complete as we close in on halfway. There's Joey Logano leading from the Goodyear blimp. Goodyear powering every lap, every mile, and every victory on the road ahead. Goodyear more driven.
I'm seeing Bubba. I think he's wanting down in front of Gillen. Look if this bottom lane comes up. See if he takes that bottom line and see if he can pull it to the lead.
Well, Joey Logano has commanded this second stage. The pole winner for the Daytona 500, the fastest qualifier, has not won the race since Dale Jarrett did it when Joey Logano was 9 years old.
He's
2000.
He's going to stay in line there.
Thanks for making us
huge shove by Truex, pushing Gillen way up, but there's that slack in the chain. Watch, he'll have to lift, catch back up, big shot, slows the lane down, backs him up, start the motion all over again.
Yeah, and the problem is they don't have the timing down for the third place car to keep that line moving forward. You see Bubba fall back from Justin Haley in the 51 car there. And it just slows that line down when they create those big gaps, pulls them backwards.
You saw when Bubba moved up to that outside how he drove off. I think if they can get...
But this is how you want to do it, Clint. You see how Martin connected right off the corner?
Oh, I see it, but I think they're wanting his Gillen out of the way. If they can get Gillen out of the way and line up these Toyotas on the bottom, I hate to say it, I think they're going to go to the front and be strong. We know these Toyotas are fast. We've seen it all week long.
Well, they're maintaining down there, and there's only 6 cars.
They just can't get them lined up.
Joey Logano's pole run the other night was the first pole for Roger Penske in the Daytona 500. He's been competing here since the 70s, but look at what Team Penske has done since last May when they won the Indy 500 and the Coke 600 and the NASCAR Cup Championship for Chevy and Ford, and then for Porsche won the Rolex 24 Hours here a couple of weeks ago at Daytona. And then Logano's Ford gives the captain his first ever Daytona 500 pole. Michael McDowell with electrical troubles has now gone 4 and about to be 5 laps down. The outside pole sitter. NASCAR's going back to Chicago. A 4th of July festival, music, entertainment, and racing throughout Grant Park. Headlined by Keith Urban, Chainsmokers, the Black Keys, and Lauren Elena, July 6 and 7. For tickets and experiences, visit NASCARChicago.com.
Well, we see Todd Gilliland slid up in front of the other 2 Fords. First, the second one of Joey Logano there, but now Todd Gilliland is the leader on that outside line and left only 5 cars in the bottom.
Well, I think that's what Truex wanted. He's got a teammate, an ally, if you will, and Reddick behind him. Let's see if those 2 Toyotas can do good. But Logano pushing on that Gilliland on the outside is going to help that line big time.
"34 cars on the lead lap." Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time champion, now 3 laps down. Josh?
Well, the day started with so much promise for the 84 of Jimmy Johnson after racing his way into the Daytona 500. Unfortunately involved in that wreck early in the race. So after that last pit stop, he started complaining about a steering issue after coming out just not able to catch up to the draft. The most important thing for Jimmy now as a part owner of Legacy Motor Club, he told me earlier, is just about getting data, about being out there so that he can relay whatever information he's able to pick onto to the rest of the team in hopes that it can uplift the team and get them where they need to be, guys.
Well, you can see his steering wheel right there, the markers on the top. That should be clear over to the left side, indicating wheel straight up on your pits. That wheel's way off. A lot of toe damage on the front of that car.
Johnson carrying the Creed Tour on board camera today. Boy, Martin Truex just can't get that low line up to the front, can he?
Well, there's just not as much surge. You've got that 2nd place car and the 3rd place car, but there's just not as much energy behind those 4th and 5th place cars like there is in that outside line to rebound.
And just as I say that, there he goes.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see him cycle up there. Well, we see somebody else dropped down out of the pack. So
what you're seeing is a good old-fashioned drag race by two manufacturers. Got them Toyotas lined up on the inside, the Dark Horse Mustangs on the outside. I like it. I dig it.
Almost halfway in stage number 2 of the Daytona 500. Martin Truex Jr. now out front. "98 laps complete in Daytona." Join Kevin Harvick every Tuesday and Thursday as he gives his opinion on top NASCAR storylines and brings big names in sports and entertainment to the racing world on Kevin Harvick's Happy Hour podcast, presented by NASCAR on Fox.
And Mike, I've got more to announce. We have a sponsor for our show with Samsung Galaxy joining us as our presenting sponsor. So that's going to be a lot of fun to talk about everything that we've had happen on the weekend, everything leading into the next week, and maybe do some cool interviews. So I'm looking forward to that with Caitlin Vincey and Mama Smith.
Try your hat on for size, boys. We got our first sponsor.
That's right.
Before we ever even have a show, that's not bad, Kevin. Not bad at all.
Joey Logano's 22 has been the strongest Ford all day, but the dynamic has changed once Todd Gilliland pulled up to the outside lane in front of Logano.
Best movements to be next to each other. Time to go back to the bottom. What's he doing? We had control.
I don't know if you have a chat down there, but all I got is I'm not driving.
On, Eddie.
Yeah, and the chat that he's talking about is how the manufacturers and all the crew chiefs communicate with each other on the pit box and everywhere else that they're sitting. So Joey's talking about Todd Gilliland. He was in the bottom lane, and he felt like they could control how much fuel they were saving at a particular time by controlling the speed of the two lanes. And now Martin Truex Jr. is the leader of the bottom lane. But, you know, I think in Joey's case, it should be easier for him to save fuel where he's at, but he's just under the control of Todd Gilliland. So he just likes control of the race, and he likes the view at the front of the line.
And Todd Gilliland's been around racing his entire life. His grandfather, Butch, was a West Coast champ, and his dad, David, led 18 laps in the 2007 Daytona 500 that Kevin Harvick won. Regan.
Well, Mike, just to add to what Kevin was saying about Todd Gilliland moving up to the top, part of the problem for Todd Gilliland was they were worried they were going to get shucked out by the Toyotas and put 3 wide. They didn't want that to happen, to lose the track position, so they wanted to get up thinking that that would be the better place for them to be on the racetrack. And what a job he is doing right now, leading the Daytona 500. The team told me earlier they expect him to be a difference maker this year. I'd say that's a good way to start.
And he has to protect himself, and that's what they thought they needed to do to not wind up at the back of the pack. So they did what they thought was right for them as a team to put themselves in a position. And one thing about Todd Gilliland is every time I'm around him and we talk about stuff like that, I feel old because I raced against Todd, his dad, and his grandpa.
All right.
3 generations.
3 generations.
Well, that does make you old.
Thanks, Clint.
Jamie?
Well, talking about Martin Truex Jr. coming up on the inside there, I talked to his spotter this morning, Drew Herring, and he said this is a very unique place. Usually spotters will stand wherever they want right up there on top of these racetracks on the roof. He said here, because we have to communicate so quickly, we need to stand next to our teammates. So they're organized by team and by organization. So quicker communication is what it's all about.
20 years of trying for Martin Truex to win the Daytona 500. In 2016, he finished second by inches in the closest ever finish here.
That's the thing, you know, I hear you 20 years of trying, but you got to listen to the second part of that equation. He lost this race by mere inches. I mean, heartbreaker close. He can get the job done, and I think he's got the hot rod to get the job done this time.
There's the view from his Bass Pro Shops camera today. He is one of 6 active NASCAR Cup championships, still trying to win their first Daytona 500.
That's a pretty stout list of Cup champs there that haven't won this race. We don't know what's going to happen as we cycle through this race, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of them won.
I'm ready.
Surprise me if they didn't.
Well, I'm ready. We've had 3 straight years of outlier winners. Drivers who had never won before, haven't won since, and have trouble finishing in the top 30 in points. I think I'm ready for a driver with a championship in his pocket to go to victory lane today.
You can be ready all you want. This whole racetrack at Daytona ain't ready. There ain't nobody getting it. I think this place decides who wins. It's a hard one to get done. 20 years we watched Earnhardt drive, finally getting it done.
It's such a special race, and when you talk about how hard that it is to win here because of the fact that everybody knows that they have an opportunity to have 3 months to work on their car and do everything that they need to do. They bring their best prepared car all year. And for a lot of the smaller teams that have those upset wins, they are able to put a car on a racetrack that can compete, and they know it.
Still 2 by 2. Truex's Toyota, Gilliland's Ford. Just past halfway in the Daytona 500 on Fox. The sun setting in Daytona as they come off turn 4 to complete 108 of 200 laps. Todd Gilliland and Joey Logano now have gone to the bottom. Bubba Wallace up to the outside to take the lead in this Daytona 500. Toyota, Chevy, and then 5 Fords. Now pit stops will be coming up soon. Josh?
Yeah, and one of those drivers that's going to come in for a pit stop very soon is Josh Berry in the 4. And as Kevin knows up in the booth, this is a new era for that team. And then crew chief Rodney Childers told me that they worked in the offseason doing some late model races together just to establish a relationship so they weren't starting at ground zero when the season started. He said that was super important for them so they felt comfortable heading into the season and had better communication streamlined. Regan?
Well, Josh, what a great run back to the front yet again today for Kyle Busch as he leads this race right now, up 28 positions since the restart. A little surprising, too, because Kyle does not love that race car as of right now. Said it shoves the nose when he turns the wheel too much, meaning it's tight, it wants to go up the racetrack, but you wouldn't notice that based on him up front. Mike?
Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Preece up in front of Todd Gilliland, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano. A lot of jostling side to side. Whoa.
A lot of hands out right there. Ryan Preece, he's wanting down. I think they're wanting to pit. He's trying to get down, got his hand out the window. Bubba Wallace, no can do.
Well, we saw the 38, the 22, and the 23 of Bubba Wallace and 8 of Kyle Busch. Everybody worked themselves down a couple laps ago anticipating coming to pit road.
Not this lap.
This time.
Well, and that's the reason I make that point is because Ryan Blaney and Ryan Preece in the 41 and the 12 in the outside lane, there's really nowhere for them to go right now unless somebody makes a hole. And they know it's coming up, so they got to get themselves in position without losing a bunch of spots, if possible.
And that's where trouble strikes. We've seen it time and time again. They try to get down anyway, cross paths, and get spun out, getting on a pit road. Very tricky, very tight quarters.
And the further that this goes and the closer that it gets, that gets harder and harder to do.
All right, Kyle Busch and Bubba Wallace with a handout. And Preece drops in on the bottom and takes the lead. The Berlin, Connecticut former modified champ.
Here they come.
And here he comes. Going to drag a big pack with him. This will be half the field. Down to pit road speed at the yellow line. Twenty cars come in, and around goes one of them as John Hunter Nemechek tried to force the issue on Josh Berry.
Josh Berry needed to get down. Hunter was already there, turned him right around.
That's okay. They'll fuel it facing the other way. As long as he's in his pit box, it's a legal stop.
Well, we always talk about how everything is so planned and you want this to be structured and organized, and the next thing you know, you come on the pit road, there's cars crossing over each other's paths trying to get to pit road, and we have wrecks.
Another pack will come this time, perhaps. Ryan Preece, too fast entering pit road. He came in as the leader, couldn't get it slowed down quick enough. He'll have to do a drive-through penalty at pit road speed. We listened in on Ryan Blaney.
Gotta get down.
What do you think I'm trying to do?
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you what we're trying to do. I'm not either.
We're good on fuel. We just need to make sure we pit with friends here, okay?
One car coming this time. That'll be Preece to serve his penalty.
Well, and sometimes waiting a little bit longer to pit allows you to just keep maintaining running good lap times. We see this back group that has already pitted. We heard Ryan Blaney frustrated because, like I said earlier, the more laps that go by, the more frustration and urgency to get down.
Anthony Alfredo comes in to make his stop by himself.
Flip side of that is it's really not a manufacturer pit stop here. That was literally half the field came in, half the field stayed out. I think Ryan Blaney's just fine where he's at.
Well, and sometimes you just say, the heck with it. I'm coming with everybody else because they're all coming in, and you just have to make that call as a driver sometimes.
I watched you do that last year, Kevin. Everybody was having trouble coming on. You said, you know what? I'm going to go with a smaller group this time.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to explain it on Monday morning.
So on the map at the top, that's car number 8, Kyle Busch, with that group of cars leading the race and some of them coming to pit road. The group of cars led by the 22, mostly Fords, that were first to stop. Things a little more orderly here, as they can be when you only have 8 cars coming in at
a
one
little bit
time.
of a smaller group, so it allows those guys to be a little more orderly because there's more room to move around.
All of these are fuel only. And that pack will pretty much leave as a group, with the exception of Zane Smith's car. Now Kyle Larson is the race leader, with Blaney, Elliott, and remember when we did the starting grid and I said, who's your sleeper pick? How about Corey LaJoie? There he is with that group in the 7.
And here that group comes down pit road.
8 cars to take fuel under green. Mostly Chevys, but for Austin Cindric and Ryan Blaney in Fords.
Kevin, these green flag pit stops are all about efficiencies. Coming on pit road, coming off the pit road together. Who can do it best?
Well, we saw the first 2 groups merge, and the third group is going to merge right in the middle of turns 1 and 2 as the lead pack of what is the 8 car of Kyle Busch coming down to these guys. And as we go to the backstretch here, it's going to be interesting.
I just saw a teammate right there. You saw Logano coming up on the outside. That 3 car, Austin Dillon, pulled up and made a block. Kyle Busch is in the lead of that thing. 3 car, several laps down, pulled up and made a block. That's teamwork right there.
Well, this is what you want. There you go. Austin Cindric pull up. That's his job. His job is to pull up and try to disrupt that line as much as possible to slow everything down. Joey Logano's coming behind Austin Cindric. He gets behind his teammate. Kyle Busch is all messed up because William Byron is up the racetrack and they have slowed the whole pack down, and now they're right in the middle of it towards the front.
That all started with Austin Dillon moving up and making that block on Logano. Collected all of those. They were going to blow by all of them on the outside.
So now the 8, Kyle Busch, looks to the high side, trying to catch the race leader, who is Kyle Larson, with his Hendrick teammate Chase Elliott in tow.
That's like saying, hey, we're going to go down the highway, and it's that guy that's sitting in the slow lane like Boyer. He's just sitting there. Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Pull over, screw everything up as much as you can, and they wound up blocking him really, really well. But I know that seems like a strange strategy to pull up into a high-speed car that's going way faster than you.
It's not strange. It's a bold strategy, but everything's back under control now. I think all is well.
Kyle Larson was 19th prior to the green flag pit stop cycle. He comes out with the lead. 80 laps to go in Daytona. Spring football just around the corner, and it hits a whole new level when the USFL and XFL come together to unleash the United Football League. March 30th on Fox, and this spring on ABC, ESPN, FS1, and Fox. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a big part of the UFL. The Stallions take on the Renegades. The two former league champions will come together in the opener.
Well, no matter who blocked who or what the time was getting on or off pit road, we got a pack. And these guys are pushing and shoving and doing, they're way more aggressive than they have been earlier in the race.
Kyle Busch leading the top, Austin Cindric leading the bottom. Kyle Larson was leading a third lane on the bottom, further back, dropped in line.
I'm glad you said that, Mike. That bottom line, that's 2 for 2. It does not prevail. As soon as they get stacked up on the outside, those outside lines blow their doors off.
Well, and typically you don't want somebody on your right rear because the air just slows you down from the other cars as it bounces off that spoiler.
Kyle Busch has been in 19 Daytona 500s. This is his 20th try. He spent the 2015 Daytona 500 in a hospital bed after a crash in the Saturday race. In 2023, at the end of 500 miles, Kyle Busch was the race leader. But we went into overtime, and it was not to be.
He takes Richard Childress back to victory lane to Daytona. I don't know if this play's ready for a party like that, Kevin.
Well, there's not many people in that infield that know the importance and experience as many things as Richard Childress has at this particular racetrack and in NASCAR racing in general.
Kyle Busch has now led 337 laps in the 500, more than any other driver who has not been to victory lane.
We had him on the pre-race yesterday, and you could, oh wow, big hit by William Byron.
That hit came all the way from Allmendinger in the 16.
A lot of energy behind him, but you could just feel it, Kevin, when he was talking to us. The sense of urgency for Kyle Busch in winning this race, it's very, very apparent.
I interviewed Kyle Busch leading into the Daytona 500 and sat down with him, and I couldn't believe how relaxed. Maybe he was just trying to be nice because he knew it was my first interview, but he was so close to winning the Daytona 500. He's won everything else in the sport. You know, I think having a year under his belt at Richard Childress Racing and knowing how that whole operation works, I think he understands the significance of him wanting to win the race, but he understands the significance and what it means to Richard Childress Racing to come down here and just as a privilege to race in general. Richard makes it very aware that we are going to put as much effort as possible into winning Daytona.
Austin Cindric, who won this race 2 years ago, Ryan Blaney with him. Cindric's dad, Tim, general manager at Team Penske, going into the Indy Hall of Fame this year for everything he's done at the Brickyard. Jamie.
Austin Cindric, just 25 years old, won this race in his first attempt at it 2 years ago. He studies more than any other driver I have ever seen, especially when it comes to this style of racing, and it's showing right here. Running up front, and Mike, last year was a year he wants to forget. One top 5. Can you imagine if he could pull it off and win this first race of the year? What a shot in the arm for this team.
One thing I've noticed here, Clinton, I'll draw this out as we go through the corner right here, but as we enter turn 1 with this pack, the space between these two cars has become a lot closer. The space on the bottom of this racetrack, there's a lot of track down there on the bottom, and those guys know that side draft is keeping those guys slowed down up top.
And a tough break for Justin Haley. He is pitting by himself with fuel pressure problems. The 51's had a great run here at Daytona today, spent a lot of laps in the top 3, but he is out of fuel and coasts into his pit stall. You know, he'll go at least a lap down.
Last 3 or 4 years we've been down here to Daytona. We've been to Talladega. We've watched this package, right? The Super Speedway package, Kevin. Ford has had a dominant car when we talk about super speedways. With them having a new body, Toyota having a new body, I think Ford adjusted a little bit for the mile and a half, some of the downforce packages. It has really evened this pack up when we talk about Daytona. All 3 manufacturers very even.
Who just dropped to the bottom? Christopher Bell made a 3rd lane on the bottom, and he's got some help. Watch that yellow Camry trying to get to the front.
4 to go. It's time.
With Ricky Stenhouse, last year's 500 winner, right with him.
Well, they're going to need more cars down there, and the problem is they're going to catch these cars that are a little bit slower coming up to them, and that's usually when it creates problems, especially if they're 3 wide.
But those 3 cars in a line, they've got a lot of energy already built up, momentum. I think that's a decent move by Bell. He saw that coming. Here comes an opportunity. Let's use that air off those cars, see if we can get to the front, maybe move up before we catch them.
They're going to catch Ty Gibbs, Josh Berry, and Ryan Preece here.
Yeah, the problem is if they do catch them, though, I don't know that they're going to go anywhere. And now you see the cars behind Ricky Stenhouse get up into that second lane because they're anticipating those guys being in the way and not being able to go 4 wide. And that's going to take Christopher Bell and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back. There's just nowhere to go.
Went for it. He didn't have the track position into the stage. I like it. Got to try. You see, I think you saw Larson right there dip down. He's going.
He is. Kyle Larson on the bottom by himself. Coming to 2 to go in stage 2. Lapped cars well to the inside, or about to be lapped cars.
Those teammates are holding strong in that middle. Big shot by Blaney. Giving Cindric a shove. Byron on that outside, pushing Busch.
Those 3 cars just getting lapped all had some pit road issues, but Berry getting turned around, and that's why they're now going a lap down.
Gosh, this side by side with that second, the bottom lane moving so close to the outside lane, they're obviously in a position where they feel like it's helping them keep up and keep the momentum, but it keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and it's going to cause a problem at some point.
And that point is off the corner. When you get tight, you lose the nose off that car in front of you. There's no room for error. You're going to be up in the side of that car. Seen it time and time again here on the exit of the corners.
Daniel Suarez, the Freeway Insurance Cam, coming up into play here. He is 5th as they have half a lap to go to complete stage 2.
Well, you see Daniel Suarez right here with this throttle percentage. What he's doing right there is checking up so he doesn't run into the back of the car in front of him, and that's the kind of momentum that they have right now, able to just run up there and ram that car if he didn't let off the throttle.
Battle for the stage win, battle to be the first car 1 lap down and get the free pass. That's Preece versus Gibbs as Cindric takes him into turn 3. Blaney to the bottom. He said he wasn't going to help his teammates. He didn't. He dropped to the bottom to try to win stage 2.
Great move by Cindric to move up before Busch got to his outside and get caught in the middle. That was a heads-up move by Cindric.
Champion Ryan Blaney wins stage 2 from Austin Cindric, Daniel Suarez, Kyle Busch, and Tyler Reddick. It is Blaney's 3rd stage win in the Daytona 500. So buckle up and stay right here as it's time for a one-of-a-kind dude-perfect battle on the racetrack, featuring epic footage captured on the all-new Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra.